Hezbollah. Yesterday, they launched rockets from mosques. They launched anti-tank guided missiles at a church in northern Israel. They've conducted extensive attacks against us. We are maintaining a mostly defensive posture on the northern border. And I think the country of Lebanon, the government of Lebanon, need to be very, very wary of how Hezbollah is taking advantage of the south of Lebanon in order to conduct these attacks.
The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says that at least 241 people have been killed in the territory during the past 24 hours as Israel's military operation continues. Israel reports it struck more than 100 sites yesterday. The army chief, Herzi Halevi, says the conflict will continue for many more months. I speak to Lieutenant Colonel Peter Lerner, spokesperson for the IDF. Good morning, Peter. Thank you for your time.
Morning, James.
Herzi Halevi, the IDF's Chief of General Staff, says the war in Gaza will last for many more months. And yet Antony Blinken, US Secretary of State, says he wanted to end as quickly as possible. Are those two statements compatible?
I think what we understand is that how Hamas has entrenched itself over the last 16 years requires a long mission, a long operation. We've been saying since day one, 83 days ago, that it will be a long war, precisely because of how Hamas has taken advantage of the civilian arena, the way we are revealing and continue to reveal and dismantle its tunnel network. So yes, indeed, it is a long war ahead. It will be, and I think this is where it is compatible, James. It will be an operation that will vary in the levels of its intensity, because as we are dismantling and destroying the main control, the main capabilities, the main, I would say, central components of Hamas's war machine. So, of course, then the objection and to our operations declines.
So it may continue for many more months, but the type of operation on the ground will be different.
Absolutely.
That's interesting. Just wanted to ask you, Peter, about this. Iran says that Israel has killed the military chief, Saeed Razi Mousavian, in an airstrike, believed to be one of the oldest advisors of the Iranian revolution. Can you confirm that?
No, we don't comment on these types of activities. I can't confirm at this on this subject at all. What we do know is we've seen extensive Iranian involvement around Israel in the last 2.5 months, almost 3 months now. They are definitely pulling the strings behind the Houthis, behind Hezbollah's extensive activities against us almost every single day now. And of course, there's $100 million of Iranian money that is funneled into Hamas and Hamas's war machine. So, of course, Iran isn't on the sidelines. They are definitely very much involved in what's going on, not only towards Israel. We've seen that the Houthis have been attacking ships in the Red Sea and beyond. And this is all based on the conductors of Iran.
According to the health ministry in Gaza, Hamas-run, of course, at least 241 people have been killed in the past 24 hours alone. The Palestinian president, Mahmoud Abbas, has called the war a grave crime against his people. What's your response, Peter?
Hamas have, over the last 2.5 months, proven time and time again that they will continue to hide behind the people of Gaza, launch their rockets from residential areas, utilize, abuse hospitals at the detriment of the patients in dire need. Our operations is in accordance to international humanitarian law, the laws of armed conflict. They are conducted in a way that distinguishes between civilians and terrorists. And I can say we are killing tens of terrorists every single day on the battlefield. I would say every single civilian death in this war is a individual tragedy. It's a tragedy for the Palestinian community in Gaza, but those deaths are nevertheless on the shoulders of Hamas, who opened this war and basically are willing to sacrifice the people of Gaza. So while we will go to lengths in order to minimize those casualties and that strife, Hamas are going to the extreme extent in order to increase and maximize those casualties and deaths. This is the tragedy for all of the people of the region, and I would say definitely for the people of Gaza.
Do the deaths of tens of terrorists every day justify the deaths of hundreds of civilians?
So I don't know what the numbers Hamas's Ministry of Health is saying, and I'd be very, very cautious in accepting anything they say. This is an organization that butchers babies in their bedroom. It wouldn't be beyond them to lie to us about these numbers. And I would say that any civilian deaths in this war is a tragedy, but it is a war, nevertheless, that we have to win. There is no alternative. The alternative is we do nothing and hope Hamas don't come into our bedrooms again, or into our backyards, or into abduct our babies. This is a reality no decent human being would accept. And this is why we are fighting this war, to make sure that Hamas don't govern the Gaza Strip as a staging ground for terrorism, don't have the powers to build a terrorist army that they had on the 6th of October, and can never wield that sword of death above our heads again, because we know what they do if they do have that. They will chop our heads off. We won't allow that to happen.
I absolutely hear what you're saying about the numbers and about whether you can believe them because they come from the Hamas-run health ministry. And I accept your point as well, Peter, about accusations of using civilian infrastructure to hide the military infrastructure. But nonetheless, according to reports, the death toll in Gaza is nearing 21,000. As I say, 241 people reported to have been killed in the last day alone. At what point does military force by Israel stop being an equal response to the atrocities of October the 7th?
It's not an equal response, James. It's nothing to do. This isn't a war of retribution. It's a war to change the paradigm. And it is a war. And I think this is what we really need to understand. What we're trying to do is create a reality where a terrorist organization can't use a platform of government in order to attack us. I'm sure you're not suggesting we don't defend our civilians because Hamas have chosen to hide behind theirs. We aren't targeting the civilians of Gaza. The people of Gaza are not our enemy. But it is an immense tragedy for the people of Gaza, what they are going through. And this is why we have a humanitarian effort that works hand in hand. Yesterday, over 1,500, almost 1,500 tons of humanitarian supplies came into Gaza. These numbers of supplies are now reaching, since the beginning of war, over 100,000 tons. This goes hand in hand with the operational effort. But yes, indeed, there is a dire situation, a situation that is a result of Hamas's doing.
How would you rate the risk, Peter, of the conflict escalating further? I ask because Yoav Gallant, Israel's defense minister, says the country's now engaged in a multi-front war, including potentially 7 different theatres of conflict.
Indeed, the escalation that we've seen in the last few days by Hezbollah. Hezbollah yesterday launched rockets from mosques. They launched anti-tank guided missiles at a church in northern Israel. They've conducted extensive attacks against us. We are maintaining a mostly defensive posture on the northern border. And I think the country of Lebanon, the government of Lebanon, need to be very, very wary of how Hezbollah is taking advantage of the south of Lebanon in order to conduct these attacks. There is a lot to lose in Lebanon. The people of Lebanon should be very, very concerned. And Hezbollah need to watch what is happening to Hamas, how we are dismantling every day the infrastructure, the organization, its terrorists, and killing them in the battlefield. So I would say there's a lot to lose in the region by broadening the scope. We have a reality where we are confronted from the north, from the south, and at the Red Sea, and this is a reality we are facing. It is a reality that we have. We are not intending on packing up and leaving. Israel is here to stay. The IDF is charged with defending the state of Israel, and those hostile entities, whether it's Hezbollah, the Houthis, Iran, or of course Hamas, have to understand that we aren't going anywhere, and therefore we will protect ourselves.
When you say Israel is here to stay, do you mean in Gaza? Because a lot of people are now asking the question, okay, let's say you are successful in eradicating Hamas, however you define that. What happens next in Gaza?
That's a very good question. It's mostly a political question, a question for our politicians. Our role as the IDF is to dismantle and destroy Hamas and make sure that they don't have the governing powers that they had in the past. I would say, ideally, the people of Gaza should determine their destiny. Of course, it needs to be a destiny without a terrorist organization at the helm.
Peter, always appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Lieutenant Colonel Peter Lerner, spokesperson for the IDF.